Subscribe to the Gia Nigo channels. 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 In the context of the U.S. striving to advance the process, the chaos still. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov stated that Russian forces have fully taken control of the town of Pokrovsk in Donetsk province, a target Russia has been fighting over for more than a year. This information was personally reported by Russian Chief of General Staff Valery Gerasimov to President Putin during an inspection of the command post on December 1st. This is clearly a statement of extremely important strategic significance for Moscow. To reinforce this statement, on December 2nd, Russian President Vladimir Putin once again affirmed that the town of Pokrovsk is under the complete control of the Russian military. Putin even invited international and Ukrainian journalists to come and verify on site, challenging,
if anyone still doubts, go to Grano Armeski and see who really controls that place.
This day, a Ukrainian analysis group very close to the Ministry of Defense and regularly monitoring the frontline situation issued a report on December 1st stating that the situation remains serious in Pokrovsk and the surrounding area. The group confirmed fighting in the town of Pokrovsk and the satellite city of Menorah is still ongoing fiercely. This states that Russian forces are trying to gain ground control in disputed areas, while implementing the insidious tactic of mine clearance, setting up obstacles and ambushes to slow Ukraine's advance.
Claims of complete control and the reality of the still serious situation on Kiev. President Putin also made a tough commitment, declaring he would respond to Ukraine's recent attack,
targeting a Russian cargo ship in the Black Sea. On the evening of November 30th, Russian President Vladimir Putin visited a command post of the Joint Chief of General Staff General Gerasimov reported to Putin about the liberation of the city of Krasnoyarsk
in Donetsk and Bachurn in the Kharkiv region.
Media assessed Krasnoyarsk as an important transport hub for the Ukrainian military in Donbass. The liberation of this city allows Russia to access the western border of the Donetsk Republic and continue attacks in the geopolitical area. As for Bachurn, it is an important Ukrainian defensive center in eastern Kharkiv. The liberation of Bachurn will complicate logistics, potentially cutting off Ukrainian forces from supply sources. Putin said success in Krasnoyarsk will ensure the completion of the set objectives. Currently, full initiative lies with Russian forces along the entire front line. Ukrainian forces have suffered casualties. In just 18 months of fighting, Ukrainian forces have lost 46%. Experts assess that the situation for Kiev is quite dire. If fighting continues, Ukraine will find itself on the brink of serious military failure with political consequences. That is why the Americans are pushing this issue, urging it end now before it's too late. The video released by the Kremlin on December 1st shows Russian soldiers raising the Russian flag in the center of Pokrovsk city,
an area that has been under Moscow's control for some time as Russian soldiers advanced through the city from the south.
Pokrovsk has long been considered an important city for Ukrainians, thanks to its connecting road and rail routes.
But frequent drone and artillery attacks on key highways and railways have forced Kiev to seek alternative supply routes.
During the visit on November 30th, Russian President Putin thanked commanders and soldiers for the results of operations in Pokrovsk. All of you, the entire commanders and soldiers of the group, and of course, the warriors carrying out these combat missions. Russian President Putin added that success in Pokrovsk will ensure steady progress towards all the objectives of the war. Why has the city of Pokrovsk become an important strategic battlefield that both sides are fiercely contesting? Pokrovsk is a road and rail hub in the Donetsk region of eastern Ukraine, with a pre-war population of about 60,000. Most residents are now evacuated, all children have been evacuated, and very few civilians remain among the flattened apartment buildings and crater-filled roads. Ukraine's only coking coal mine, used in the formerly huge steel industry, is located about 10 kilometers west of Pokrovsk. Ukrainian steelmaker Metinvest said in January that it has suspended mining operations there. Russia wants to capture the entire Donbass region, including Luhansk and Donetsk provinces. Ukraine still controls about 10% of Donbass, an area of about 5,000 square kilometers, mainly in northern
gateway to Donetsk.
On December 11, the Russian Defense Ministry released a video showing Russian soldiers in central Pokrovsk conducting battlefield clearance operations in the city. Moscow has not released images from their chants, but previous geolocation data indicates that most of the city is already under Russian control. This information was announced by Russia just before President Putin met with U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff to discuss a peace plan for Ukraine.
Observers believe the statement was likely made to influence the meeting, sending a message that Russia is making advances and does not need to compromise. S claims. On December 1st, Ukraine.
Ukrainian soldiers and many independent military analysts say Russian forces have largely controlled Pokrovsk for the past month, but emphasize that Kyiv still holds some areas and the city has not fallen. Ukraine is believed to still control positions in the southern suburbs.
Russia is moving through the rubble toward the west. They have not been able to fully push back Ukraine, but most of the ruined area has been under enemy control for the past 2 months.
The Russian military has formed a large pincer movement to tightly encircle the Pokrovsk-Marhanets urban cluster. As these two cities, Ukrainian experts warn that the collapse of defenses in one city will trigger a chain reaction, leading to the complete encirclement and rapid fall of the other.
The cauldron. Cauldron.
Where they deploy large forces to surround from multiple sides, leaving only one. Russian President Vladimir Putin, along with foreign policy aide Yuri Yushakov and envoy Kirill Dmitriev, began negotiations with U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner,
son-in-law of U.S. President Donald Trump, at the Kremlin around 1930 Moscow time on December 2nd.
The two sides spoke through interpreters until after midnight Moscow time. According to a Kremlin announcement, the negotiations only concluded around 0:30 on December 3rd.
The discussions focused on key elements of the U.S.-backed peace framework, initially revolving around a 28-point draft leaked to the media last month.
When Western European countries supporting Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky were caught off guard and made exceptions, the U.S. delegation handed over 4 additional documents related to peace arrangements. Key issues of territory, security guarantees, NATO aspirations, and restrictions on the Ukrainian military were discussed after the negotiations. Yushakov responded to a question on this topic by mentioning the significant potential for cooperation between the two sides. Some U.S. proposals were accepted by Russia, while others were not.
Certainly not closer. Yushakov added that no compromise has been found yet and there are currently no plans for a meeting between Putin and Trump. However, Yushakov said the conversation was very useful and constructive, though much work remains in both Washington and Moscow. Subscribe to the Arcane Atlas channel to see the latest videos.
Like the journey? Subscribe and join the next expedition.